A tragedy it is to see you lost in your addiction. Reminds me of a story that someone told me. It's funny how life has this way of turning things around.
Venice, it's a great pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Sorry, those are your groupies in the background.
And obviously both of us have sort of been looking into, obviously yourself today, and looking into YouTube. And quite a few people have actually sort of simulated you to Seal. Would you agree with that?
To some extent. I mean, first of all, it's a huge compliment to be compared to Seal. I mean, I am a huge fan of him. I think he's a much more better artist than I am, but we're also different music, I mean, I would think.
Now, you were actually born in Zaire in Africa, and at a very young age, you went over to Maryland, I believe, in the USA. Do you remember much about that move, and was it something that you enjoyed?
Not really, because I was about 5 years old when I moved, and the only thing I remember of that trip was eating Swiss chocolate for the first time as I was coming through. My connection was in Zurich. That's pretty much what I remember of that trip. I also remember the first time when I landed, and I saw snow for the first time, and that was pretty shocking. I had to ask my father, what is this stuff falling from the sky? That was pretty a big moment in my life.
Why did your father actually decide to move to America from Africa?
Because my father was an embassy administrator for Zaire. He lived actually in many countries, Austria being one of them, in France, Sudan. He lived in many countries, so he was actually stationed to come to the United States at that time.
Do you still have any family and friends back in Africa, though?
I do. Unfortunately, don't keep in touch, and I haven't seen them or talked to them since I was 15.
Let's talk about you now. A lot of people say, music is my first love, to quote a song, but it wasn't your first love as such, I don't believe. You were actually, you used to play for the US national team in football in the States.
Yeah, football meaning soccer to some people that may not know that. My first love was definitely playing football or soccer, as I was called in the States. But as a kid, I definitely was sleeping with the soccer ball and watching Ronaldinho and Ronaldo, and I pretty much ate, slept, dreamt soccer, and it was something that I thought I was going to take it all the way through, but something just ignited in my heart about music, and I had been playing guitar since I was 10, and I felt this very strong passion to take a different path.
That's actually the question I was going to ask you, just listening to your answer there. Obviously being very dedicated to playing soccer in America to a very high standard. During that time of growing up and all that was happening, was there an underlying passion somewhere along the line that you really knew that you wanted to do something else, and that was music? Or
did you have a significant moment in your life, an event that said, you know what, I'm doing the wrong thing, I need to go to music?
Yeah, there was. My father actually played professional soccer as well, and this one of the scariest moments of his life at the time before he started work for the embassy was that he broke his leg, and he pretty much ended his career. That was like 50% of the realization that, this could happen to me. And then and so I thought really hard when I turned 17. I thought really hard about what it was I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I'm like, I loved playing the game, and I was definitely getting beaten up on the field because I was a forward, and defenders love hurting the forwards. It was really hard to make that decision, but I felt that being at 17 and realizing that I can do music for a very long time, and I could actually touch people in ways that soccer could never do. And that was really my deciding factor, is that I could actually make a difference in the world by doing music. As opposed to soccer, I could entertain a lot of people, but music is something that, like, you can't trade that with anything else. I mean, it helps me to deal with my problems as well, but the biggest benefit is that when you can help someone else deal with whatever situation they're in.
Well, obviously, you know, you've been able to do that very successfully, having had 2 winning Track of the Months here on Fame Games.
Hey!
Yeah, one with Taking Time, which is a personal favorite of songwriter and producer Paul Sikowski, and also Bound to Crash. You know, I think we're all obviously lovers of both tracks. But in your bio, it also says that once you made that decision to move into music, that you buried yourself into songwriting and were writing songs of passions gone wrong and betrayal. These 2 particular songs, because they're Tracks of the Month, our audience is very familiar with your music. Can you tell us the story behind what inspired you to write those 2 tracks?
Taking Time was about, there was a point in my life that unfortunately, being in the music industry, you get introduced to many different bad things. And the people that I was surrounded by were also involved in that very bad things, and drugs being one of them, and alcohol. And I realized that the people that were around me were so much more into the drugs and the ridiculously exaggerated partying. And so I realized that this particular addiction is something that can really lose your focus on whatever you want to achieve in life. That was the inspiration of Taking Time. It's just, I believe that all of us have had some kind of addiction of some sort. You can understand what happens when you kind of lose yourself into something that you uncontrollably can't seem to put aside.
In the music of this song, Taking Time, whose decision was it to use kind of like family portraits as the theme running throughout the video?
That was the director. Such a great director he is. Eric Kortz was the one that directed that video, and I pretty much just gave him the lyrics and gave him the music, and he ran with it, and I just absolutely loved with what he came up with. As far as the video was concerned, I thought it was a really beautiful video that he shot.
It was. Was it quite expensive for you? Because I noticed that was really the only one online that I saw that was done, everything else was live. So this was really the only music video you've done. I know they're expensive.
Yeah, they are very expensive, but I'm not going to mention how much it was, because Eric will kill me, because he's a very good friend of mine, and could have been a lot worse. So, like, me mentioning the amount, he'd probably be like, you should never disclose how much that cost.
I know what you're up against, mate. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Fortunately, you know, I've got some friends that are in the film industry, and Eric being one of them. And sometimes when you have friends in high places, it really helps to get something done that would have cost you $100,000.